What's going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. Gary, psychologically, I want to say 15, but he's about 16,000 away from 1 million subs. Let's go. We knew he had a secret video he was working on that was going to put him over the edge, and I think this is it. And also, it's a great topic. Marvel brought this all on themselves. I mean, people have been saying for a while, but they've really done it now. And of course, they're going to blame the fans because that's the playbook number one. Let us see Gary take us home. Road to 1 million, baby.
You know, it comes down to the cast, and with Jonathan Majors, who I think took over the Hall H stage, you know, in the 3 minutes he was up there. It's amazing. And I said to him, there's nobody I would rather be nobody's shoulders I'd rather be putting the Multiverse Saga on than his.
And not even because of the domestic violence, but because of the horrible numbers for Quantumania.
It was amazing to work on a film with 3 lady heroes, a badass lady villain, and many lady department heads. Female producer, female director.
No women went to see.
It was pretty great.
Would you guys be up for a sequel? Absolutely, but that's up to the Sony gods. The Sony gods!
This is glorious. This is Schadenfreude.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 980,000 awakening wonders and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. It was the great Albert Einstein who once said, I'm going to paraphrase here, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expecting different results.
Marvel Studios is taking stock of their strategy following the poor performance of the Marvels.
Psych!
Well, on the surface, it would seem that our friends over at Disney Marvel have finally come to their senses, or at least that's what they want you to believe. Because we're starting to hear terms from the access media like retooling.
To be fair, at least with Daredevil Born Again, they certainly made some drastic changes that at least have some green flags.
Or stepping back to focus on stronger franchises. Well, far be it from me to kick a giant billion-dollar multinational corporation when it's down. Oh, who am I kidding? I love doing it. Let's see how Disney Marvel plans to completely retool the MCU with the same tools who created the problem. But first, let's check in on Marvel's Madam Web's box office numbers. Domestically,
the ultimate point here, I believe, and I hope he makes, is that you can't fix it by using the same people that broke it.
It's earned just over $35 million with an international box office of just over $42 million, bringing in a grand total of just over $77 million. That's right, this film might not make $100 million worldwide. And at time of recording, the film has only been out 13 days, and on its second weekend, it averaged per theater $403 for Friday, $666 for Saturday, and $405 for Sunday, pulling in a grand total of $6 million for its second weekend.
I think you're going to see it twice.
Oh, and I can hear the Disney Marvel corporate stands now. Madam Web is a Sony picture. It doesn't have anything to do with Marvel. I mean, aside from Madam Web, all the Spider-Women, Ben Parker, Mary Parker, and Ezekiel being Marvel characters in the Marvel Studios banner before.
Jesus, flashback? I said that exact same thing about his Marvels video, and I think I said the exact same thing about Echo, even though I ended up watching it.
For the film, sure. And as I pointed out in my Madam Web review, both Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney thought it was a Marvel Studios production.
I forgive you.
The fact of the matter is most normies can't tell the difference. And quite frankly, the people who watch this stuff a lot can't tell the difference, like yours truly. Tell me, is the Marvels better than Madam Web? No. The lines have been blurred and the brand damage has been done. Still, it's no secret Disney Marvel hates Sony Marvel productions outside of Spider-Man for precisely this reason. From the Hollywood Reporter inside Sony's Madam Web collapse, forget about a new franchise.
Did anyone actually think we were going to get a franchise out of that? Really?
The fact that they thought they could get a new franchise tells you how stupid people in Hollywood are. The flop is wiping out an entire plan for a new movie series as the studio becomes the latest superhero studio in need of a pivot. How exactly do all of these monolithic corporations that require 6 meetings just to have a meeting, who all have their cinematic universe release dates planned out for years and coordinated to boost quarterly earnings, pivot? Don't know. The trailer buzz was worrisome. Advanced ticket sales anemic. Then last week, the critic reviews for Madam Web were posted, and they stung deepest of all. Sony's Spider-Man spinoff received the lowest average Rotten Tomatoes score, 13%, and it's still there at time of recording, of any major superhero film in nearly a decade. Just a reminder, not that you need it, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's fun. It was just over 4 months ago, the Marvels drop and became the MCU's biggest flop in its history. Then Disney Plus and Hulu walked.
And the only people that went to go see that movie, if you go by their analytics, were men. Women did not go to see it. Shocking, I know.
The Trail of Tears with Echo, which had unsurprisingly abysmal ratings despite being on 2 streaming services and being released all at once. I have a question. If a show drops on 2 streaming services yet nobody watches it, does it make a sound?
Every lunch for the past 2 months, I've been eating Huel Instant Milk Cups, and it's changed the game for me. It's as easy as...
Anyway, back to the article. On Wednesday night, you could actually watch Madam Web's advanced purchase sales declining in real time as buyers were refunding their tickets. Marvel's a major theatrical chain executive. It really says something when you'd rather have Shazam 2 numbers. And what's really sad is the last
Blue Beetle.
Last calendar year has been so bad for superhero films that I completely forgot about Shazam 2. And again, the thing that particularly gets under the fur of the rat in Burbank and quite frankly Hollywood overall is sentences like these. Like DC and the once unstoppable Disney Marvel, Sony is now finding itself under the gun to reevaluate how it makes comic book movies. Just in case you're scoring at home, the Access Media has now used the words reevaluate and pivot to avoid stating the obvious.
To say the best one is when Vincent D'Onofrio said they creatively reset the team for Daredevil, which really meant they fired the fucking directors, the writers, and then threw away a bunch of episodes. Creatively reset.
Madam Web joins a troubling trend for the superhero genre. Every live-action comic book movie last year underperformed aside from Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Regardless of studio, superhero fatigue has evolved from a term used by some corners of fandom to something reluctant.
And it was never superhero fatigue. We point this out all the time. It was never superhero fatigue. It was shitty movie fatigue. Right now, if you put out a great comic book movie, people would look. We saw Deadpool and the Wolverine trailer and everyone lost their shits. Where was the superhero fatigue? Oh, you're just tired of their not popular characters that you kept pushing.
Accepted as
no one gives a shit. Sorry, I was saying no one gives a shit about Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel or any derivative version of those characters. Sorry, didn't care in the comics. That's why they keep rebooting it. And didn't care in live action. No one watched the shows.
Fact, there'll always be a giant market for men and women in tights, but superhero fatigue does exist within Hollywood. Right. Unfortunately for Tinseltown, within its shrinking customer base, there's Hollywood fatigue. Is this the portion of the article where they blame the fans? Well, yeah, kinda. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Sony and director S.J. Clarkson took a wise approach with Madam Web. When there are capes and cows on every metropolis corner, doesn't it make sense to avoid the usual tropes and try for a more grounded feeling superhero thriller with low-key charm and moreover, make a superhero movie for women and young girls? Sure, except it didn't work. I don't know if women are enough to carry the box office here. Really? One veteran studio source outside of Sony says, indeed, males make up 60.
I mean, I know I said it, but there's the actual 40%, 46% were women that went to go see Madam Web. I wonder. It's almost like no matter how much you girl up a male property, it doesn't work. And the women that were watching it were going to see it, even though it was male skewered. Skewered. Only thing getting skewered is Marvel right now.
5% to 70% of the superhero audience in North America. That hasn't changed, and it will not change. In the case of Madam Web, the percentage of female viewers was still only 46%. You heard that right. Madam Web failed because of women.
Why didn't you like your representation? It was your representation.
Just like with its cinematic predecessor, The Marvels, the film made by women, starring women, for women, wasn't watched by any women. And unfortunately for Disney Marvel, Disney Sony, Warner Brothers, and Hollywood overall, and let's not forget the theaters, it's become painfully clear now that the Access Media is piling on that the cash cow that...
And I feel bad. Like Iman Vellani, class act. Thankfully, I've not heard one fan on any stream I've been on say anything negative about her. We will, in fact, people will stop to point out that she talks nice about the fans, and she at least reads the comics and knows her own stuff. Bree, at this point, Bree's hurt no one. I think she regrets her earlier comments, or she at least wised up to him. She hasn't said anything bad. I do feel bad. Poor girls.
That was the superhero film has been milked dry, or maybe in this case, the bull's been milked dry. Again, from the Hollywood Reporter, how Marvel is quietly retooling. There's another word, avoiding stating the obvious, amid superhero
a lot of rewrites
fatigue.
and write-ups.
You call it superhero fatigue. I call it a self-inflicted mortal wound, but let's not argue right now. The studio's golden box office aura has been dented. It has been pulverized into dust. But chief architect Kevin Feige isn't scrapping his years-long cinematic universe plan, just refining it. Oh, really? They're not going to give up, says an insider. No, and they're going to fail. And let's keep in mind, Disney, Marvel, and Hollywood just finished the year of the flopbuster, where the Hollywood Reporter even admits that Ant-Man heralded in a year's worth of missteps, box office blunders, and PR nightmares. And they continue because one of those PR nightmares is Madam Web. That's why Disney Marvel was forced to announce the casting of the Fantastic Four on the,
which we've known about for a year, had already reported. Same thing with the period piece. We knew this would happen, and what had happened was they're just wise to the fact that we're not buying their ideology that they have hammered so hard, so obviously, that it's just now patently rejected. So when they're saying that we're going to retool and they're refocus, really it means we're going to take all the horrible things we've tried to push and we're just going to hide it a little, because we stopped hiding it and you caught on. So now we're going to hide it a little bit better. That's what they mean when they're going to focus on quality, which good luck.
The day Madam Web was released, and a day later released the X-Men 97 trailer. And this brings the Hollywood Reporter to the brilliant conclusion that Disney Marvel had a good February.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
And no, I'm not kidding. But the Disney division is in the midst of a pretty darn good February, all things considered, despite the general gloom that surrounds the superhero genre as of late. And how do they come to this brilliant conclusion? By exposing Disney for its lies and saying it's a good thing. Disney reported that the Deadpool and Wolverine Super Bowl trailer was the most watched trailer of all time, except it wasn't. According to Disney, the trailer garnered 365 million views in 24 hours. Yes, Disney's math includes 123 million people who tuned in for the game, which included just 30 seconds of the trailer. But Super Bowl fudging or not, the clip's reach was an encouraging number. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't think lying about success makes you successful. But that's what Bob Iger's did.
If they think Deadpool is going to save them, it's not. It's going to make a bunch of money. It's going to make $1 billion, and it'll give people a little bit of goodwill, but it's not saving jack shit. They're going to go right back to making the horrible flopbusters.
Disney does. They'll wave a lot of surface level stuff at you, like a Taylor Swift, or even announce a Fortnite deal, which may or may not happen in the next 5 years to impress investors, or lie about a Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, because quite frankly, people fall for it. Low information investors are becoming just as bad as low information voters for this country. Again, to state the obvious, all Disney does these days with Marvel and Star Wars is announce things. Rarely do they follow through. These public...
Yeah. Where was the outrage when Patty Jenkins announced her series that it ended up getting canceled?
Facing moves, because that's all they are, as studio boss Kevin Feige recalibrates the creative direction behind the scenes. Again, for those of you scoring at home, we've heard pivot, reevaluate, retooling, and recalibrate. And don't call it a reboot, even though they're...
And creative resetting that I heard Vincent D'Onofrio say. I'm going to throw that in there.
We're hitting every word in the thesaurus. What it actually is an admission of failure because it's a massive course correction.
Houston, we have a problem.
In this article, they're actually bragging.
Yeah. Catherine Hahn saying, you think you're going to like, it's not going to be what you expect for her series that's been reshot and renamed like 5 times.
That there weren't that many reshoots with...
Yeah, there you go. House of Harkness, Coven of Chaos, Darkhold Diaries, Jesus Christ. And, I like Catherine Hahn. Doesn't mean this is going to be a good series.
Agatha, whatever the hell it's called, completely ignoring the fact that there's an entire film, Black Falcon, Captain America, and an entire TV show, Daredevil, being reshot as we speak. And let's not get too excited about the Fantastic Four, where, to be fair, the casting could have been much worse, but it's still going to be a daunting task to convince anyone Pedro Pascal is the smartest man alive.
Yeah.
You ever look at Instagram accounts devoted to you being a heartthrob when you're feeling down?
Yes, I do.
At least he's honest about it.
3, 2.
I mean, Gary, get paid. But I'll
The New
super
York
chat you,
Times
bro.
calls the holdovers laugh out
Without
loud fun.
commercials.
That film is currently on its third rewrite or script polishing from Eric Pearson, famous for Thor Ragnarok and Black Widow, and has the reputation for taking projects over the finish line. In
so
other
bad.
words, he was hired because he can finish things.
Wow.
And the Thunderbolts film, which is apparently still happening.
And we just found out today because she, of course, is going to be the leader. Bucky Barnes apparently is removed very quickly and may or not be killed off. And I will fucking riot if that happens. And U.S. Agent apparently has more to do in the movie than we're expecting. But this is going to be also, and she had a show.
Has hired Joanna Cola, the showrunner of acclaimed FX series The Bear. She was also the producer on a show called Girl Boss. She also has no real genre experience, which would make her perfect for current year Disney Marvel, and more proof they have no intention of changing. And then The Hollywood Reporter and Disney Marvel say the quiet part out loud about the strikes. The dual writers and actors strike, while costly to Hollywood, ironically gave Marvel some breathing space.
And that is what happened to the writer's room for that Silk Spider Society. It wasn't that they suddenly decided to skew towards a male audience, although they did decide that. They got rid of these guys because the union was like, hey, you've had these people on ice, do something with them. And then when they realized they had to retool, they're like, oh, no, we'll get rid of them. Bye. Yeah. And that happened a lot. That's why we've gone from 600 productions to 300 productions this year.
Suckers. It was able to reschedule its movies so that only Deadpool and Wolverine will be released in 2024. Only 2 series, Echo and Agatha, are bowing on Disney Plus this year. So instead of making a bunch of shit, they're just spreading it out. Execs are not calling it a reboot. How dare you even suggest it? Not even a soft one, but more of a creative retooling. A retooling by tools. And it's only because they were forced to do so, because guess what? It's all your fault. This comes from our friend Christian Toto from Hollywood and Toto. Disney exec blames woes on racist, sexist fans. Newsletter reveals corporate arrogance behind Mouse House's fall. Bulwark Culture editor Sonny Bunch shared a snippet from a recent Puck newsletter suggesting Team Disney isn't about to change its ways. Again, this comes...
No, it's not just Team Disney. I hope listen, brothers and sisters, and understand. None of these demons, and they use that word specifically, are going to change their ways. From Disney to Amazon to every single studio to all the game companies that have been there, none of the ideologically possessed demons are going to change their ways. The only way to change all of these corrupted things is to excise the corruption. That means they all need to be fucking fired.
From an anonymous Disney executive. Everyone says it's the movie, stupid, which is an easy thing for people to say. More appealing movies are a great way to jump the political issues. But more and more, our audience, or the segment of the audience that's been politicized, equate the perceived messaging in a film as a quality issue. To state the obvious, it's not the audience that's been politicized, it's the art and the beloved intellectual properties that have been propagandized, making the obvious messaging a quality issue because everything is shit. I digress. They won't say they find female empowerment distasteful in the Marvels or Star Wars, the latest trilogy starring Daisy Ridley, but they will say they don't like those movies because they are, quote unquote,
right. Ignoring the fact that there's about 1 billion other movies with strong female characters that we actively like and champion. Again, this is the revisionist history of psychopaths.
Bad. So, quote unquote, make movies better becomes code or a dog whistle for, quote unquote, make movies that conform to regressive gender stereotypes or put men front and center in the narrative.
Make women that aren't men, basically. Make fucking movies that have women that are feminine and attractive, not the worst fucking facsimiles of a toxic male, which is how Disney writes every single strong female character. They run like fucking Furiosa. Great representation. I can't believe only 46% went to go see the Marvels or Madam Web or whatever horrible trope it was.
Which is what you're seeing now and what Bob Iger's pivot is about right now. It's too bad. Everyone would understand Disney Marvel's greatness over the last couple of years if it wasn't for all those bigots. Never mind the fact that the term girl boss is now a pejorative and the MCU is now in the cultural zeitgeist, and Disney's idea of female empowerment has set it back to the 50s. But I think this provides us with another great opportunity to remind everyone who works in the industrial, corporate, Hollywood entertainment complex community and the corporate shill community whose fault this really is. Yours. The fans didn't write the Marvels. The fans didn't greenlight Echo. The fans didn't turn Star Wars and Marvel into girl brands. The fans didn't.
And the worst part about all of this is all those film threat leaks and emails that show that all you sons of bitches know this is wrong and you are afraid. And instead of having some balls and speaking out, you let the fans be blamed, and you do it just to keep your job. And for what? To have everything burned down around you, and inevitably you will lose your jobs anyway because there'll be no industry left.
Didn't decide to wade into identity politics.
Cowards.
The fans didn't decide to bypass decades of great storytelling in the source material that sold in the hundreds of thousands to jump into the worst era of storytelling in comic book history that sold in the thousands. The fans certainly didn't come up with the term toxic fandom. The fans didn't make the decision to kill off or completely vandalize the beloved characters. The fans didn't put a chick in it and make her lame and gay. But the one thing you can pin on the fans, they were right. So while Disney Marvel spends the next 3 or 4 years retooling, reevaluating, recalibrating, but definitely not rebooting, the fans will have long since pivoted away from you. Hell, things have gotten so bad, even the queen of the MCU, Brie Larson, is out.
Can you tell us a little bit about Marvel and what's coming up for you? Your next Marvel project? Anything to say about that?
Yeah. Just be done with it.
The term "you can't unmake the soup" does not do this problem justice, I think.
And the worst part also is when he said, you know, the bad comics and the worst comics in the last 10 years, every single time they do something horrible and they justify it by saying, oh, it was in the comics, because they only say that when they're doing something horrible. It's always the comics from the last 10 years that have all been retooled. Get it? Retooled like 10 times. Yeah, because they don't actually adapt the good stuff.
It's more applicable to say you can't uncrap the poop. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
I hope Gary beat Dan Vask. Like I said, at this point, he's basically 15,000 away from 1 million. He deserves it. He's the Godfather. He knows a lot of people on our side, let's just say Gary is probably the most knowledgeable, balanced about the whole thing. He not just could he explain to you what woke and intersectional feminism and where cultural Marxism comes into play. He could tell you who's doing it and why. He's the whole package. And again, I've said it a billion times, I consider him a mentor. If you can have a mentor that doesn't even know you exist, I definitely look to him for all things. And these videos like here, it's a blessing and a privilege just to go through and dissect them and tease out more truth, because Gary is a wealth of knowledge. And if you don't watch anyone else in the Fellowship of the 199, I mean, if you're watching me, obviously, definitely watch Gary. And I think he and Drinker, but certainly Gary more than anyone, has the ability to really explain to people what the hell is going on, what we're talking about, why we're upset, and why. Again, he tells people, make your channel so you can talk about it too, because things are going to get real fun once these companies really know what's up. You think this is any sort of victory? It's not. The war in Minecraft for culture war is just beginning. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, sub if you've done that. Thank you. If you're gonna do that, thank you. And
Well, bye.